Hello, STEM girlies. Welcome back to Computer Science, the podcast that connects ambitious and driven girls just like you to the trailblazing women of STEM. Our guest for today is an incoming freshman into Harvard University, Vaishnavi Moturi. A recent grad from Centennial High School, Vaishnavi plans to explore the life sciences in college. So whether you're exploring a career in STEM or just looking for inspiration, this episode is packed with wisdom you won't want to miss. So grab your drinks, grab your matcha, and let's get ready to hear all about Vaishnavi's incredible journey, experiences, and insights from high school. Let's dive right in. Vaishnavi, in true computer science fashion, let's dive right into the first question. Can you share with our viewers a little bit about yourself, your work, and what you've majorly been involved with in high school?
Hi Kashika, it's so good to be here. My name is Vaishnavi and I'm a rising freshman at Harvard, and as Kashika said, I'm planning on majoring in something in the life sciences. Most of my work in high school has been surrounding research and policy. So I conducted research primarily computational at UT Dallas, UT Southwestern, and Mass Gen Hospital. And a lot of it was based around neuroscience because that's one of the fields that I'm really interested in. And I was also involved with the Institute for Youth and Policy, where I was the energy policy team lead for some time because I'm passionate about combining public policy, public health policy, and basic research and translational research.
That is super cool. So, how did you first venture into public policy as well as the neuroscience research that you've done? Was there a moment when you realized this is what I want to do?
I think I've always been more of a STEM person than anything else. And I think that might have to do with the fact that I explored computer science from an early age. And as a rising freshman in high school, I wanted to do something productive over the summer. As a rising sophomore, I joined the UTD's Nano Explorer program where I was able to conduct computational science research, and I realized this is something that I'm very interested in because I get to use my skills in computer science to make a scalable impact on the communities around me, as well as the research that I'm aiming to conduct.
For sure. Computer science, the computational sciences, these are all, demanding fields. And in general, STEM is considered super demanding and it requires a strong work ethic. So we all know that to be successful in STEM, you have to, be a logical thinker, you have to be persistent. These are qualities we hear about from everyone. But I'm curious, what are some underrated or less talked about traits that you think are equally crucial for success in the STEM fields?
For sure, like you mentioned, persistence is like number one in my list because if you're not passionate about what you're doing, and if you have like a spark of passion, like a temporary burst of passion, that's not going to get you very far. So I think in addition to persistence, you need to be consistent with whatever you're trying to accomplish. So I think accomplishing a little bit of what you want to do on a daily basis, maybe taking 5, 10 minutes, an hour each day to work towards that goal, is so infinitely much more powerful than spending 10 hours on the grind on a random weekend. So I think consistency is key, and forcing yourself out of this like natural sense of complacency is so important. So I would say consistency.
Do you have any tips on consistency that you'd like to provide? People say the difference between being motivated and being disciplined. And
Mhm.
consistency is all about that, being disciplined and doing this thing over and over. So, what are some tips that you'd give people to stay consistent in whatever they're trying to do?
Yeah, for sure. So I think definitely like saying I want to be consistent is so much easier said than done. So I think step one is for me on a daily basis, I like to create a to-do list, and I like to write it down with a pen and paper because that makes it so much more concrete, and it gives me a list of actionable items to do on a daily basis so that it's not just up in the air and it's not just, hypothetical, it's something that I actually want to accomplish. So I think that's important, like writing down your goals on a daily basis and also to create like long term visions. So tell yourself in a week and 2 weeks, where do I want to be? How can I get there? And so work back to what I have to do today in order to get to where I want to be in a few weeks. And then expand that to a few months to a few years. And then you have yourself milestones that you really do want to accomplish instead of just dreaming about like random things that you're not actually ever going to work towards.
I love that you said write your to-do list on paper. I used to write my to-do list on a whiteboard that I have in my room, but the thing is, you can erase really easily with the whiteboard. And then I know a lot of people write on their phones. It's really easy to go black space on your phone. But on paper, if you're writing with a pen, it makes it so much more concrete. So I definitely agree with you there. And then working backwards from your goals is such a crucial tip. You cannot stress this enough. This is amazing. When you're working backwards, it definitely makes it a lot easier to be like, hey, for me to achieve this goal in like a week, in a month, in a year, what would I need to do right now? So that definitely helps with consistency. So thank you for sharing that.
For
And
sure.
then Vaishnavi, I know you've done a lot of research in high school. You've gotten into MIT's RSI program or Research Science Institute, and then you've done a lot of other research nearby in local universities and such. So could you do a whole spiel about your entire high school research journey for us? Start from freshman year, how you got started up to now.
Yeah, I started thinking about doing research at the end of freshman year. So, freshman year, I didn't do much. Like during the school year, I just kind of focused on my classes, joining some clubs that I enjoyed. But that summer, I wasn't really doing anything, and I thought I want to get involved in something productive. So, I started reaching out to like hundreds, I think at least 100 professors around the region. And my primary goal at the time was to conduct wet lab research because I just felt like that would be so cool. But I couldn't get any wet lab opportunities because of age restrictions and all kinds of other restrictions. So I ended up doing computational work, but little did I know that that would become something that I became very passionate about and something that I am passionate about to this day. So I was able to get a research opportunity the summer of freshman year with Dr. Kelly Jean. She is a professor, assistant professor at the University of Texas at Dallas, and she conducts research surrounding cochlear implants and how it relates to people's emotions, and it's a whole field that I was not exposed to, and it's something that I thought was really cool. So I joined her neuroaudiology lab, and over the course of my high school career, I was able to co-author a paper with her, present at an international conference, and it was just an amazing experience overall. And then the summer of my sophomore year, I got a paid internship at UT Southwestern, where I used machine learning algorithms in order to better figure out how we can predict therapy response in glioblastoma patients. And this was something that was extremely cool because I got to go into the lab a few times and I got to shadow the radiologist who was conducting brain scans of patients with glioblastoma, and it really struck me how important it is to conduct translational research in cooperation with doctors, radiologists, and people who are, on the front lines giving patient care, because by doing so, we are able to bridge the gap between research and clinical care. And I thought that was really cool. And then all that kind of came into the Research Science Institute, which is an opportunity that I'm immensely grateful for, because I think beyond the research that I conducted there, it was the people that I met who were all doing incredible things. That was just an incredible opportunity. That's kind of my research experience.
Yes, that is amazing. You said you started off by emailing over 100 professors. Can you talk to us about that? When you emailed them, I'm sure you didn't get responses back from every single one, but how did you deal with that? And then how did you end up realizing, like, okay, this is how I draft an email, this is how I follow up with professors?
Yeah, for sure. So it was definitely a lot of trial and error, but I think, especially nowadays, a lot of high schoolers want to be proactive and get involved in research to figure out what fields they might be passionate about and what they want to pursue in college. So I think it's really cool that everyone's being very proactive about this. But for me, when I was initially reaching out to these professors, I kind of followed email templates online, and I realized soon after that most of those email templates are really generic and are kind of useless. And I realized by a combination of trial and error, I realized that some email types tended to get a greater like chance of response from professors, and some emails did not. So I realized that you really want to portray yourself in the most positive light when you're emailing people, and you want to like really portray yourself as someone who can contribute to the ongoing research in the lab. And so you want to kind of demonstrate what skills and what qualities you have, give them a resume and be very specific about what what research particularly you're hoping to contribute to. And maybe don't start off with asking, oh, can I be a research intern? Maybe start off with asking if I can meet with you for maybe 5 to 10 minutes to ask about what your lab is, like what kind of research your lab is conducting, and then go from there. About email rejection, that's definitely super common. Obviously, professors are super busy and they have lots going on their plates, from teaching classes to obviously conducting groundbreaking research, so you cannot expect a response from all of them, if not a few of them. So if you don't get a response back, don't be dejected. Just realize, it's not because of you, it's because there's so much going on their plates. So I think just keep emailing people and eventually you will get a response.
Yes, for sure. I'm gonna segue into the business aspect of you. So I know you've gotten first place at the Youth Financial Analysis competition. So could you talk to us a little bit about this experience and this competition in general?
Yeah, for sure. So this was definitely not related to most of my interests, but kind of, I just thought it would be fun because I felt like unchallenged during sophomore year, so I thought it would be nice to dip my feet into something new. So this is something that I just came across online, and I was like, oh, this is cool. What is this about? And I realized that as soon as I opened the website, the competition was opening the next day. So I was like, okay, I'll join and maybe we'll see what happens. And it was actually really cool because it taught me a lot about this competition specifically was about analyzing a company's portfolio. And the year that I competed, it was focused on biotech. And that was really cool because it, interested me specifically because I'm interested in the life sciences. So I got to analyze Johns Hopkins' portfolio and compile an entire research report on it. And that was actually really cool because it opened to me a new aspect of life sciences, and that's biotech and venture capital. And I thought that was really cool, and it's definitely something that I'm considering pursuing to this day. So, yeah, that was actually a really cool opportunity.
Yes, that's awesome. I love that. You got biotech too as the theme, which is so perfect because of all the research you've done. So everything is really linked. It's like healthcare is related to finance. You talked about VCs and venture capitalists. There's so much funding that goes behind these healthcare institutions. Are you planning on exploring anything with finance in college, or are you mostly leaning towards life sciences?
I am personally leaning towards the life sciences because I feel like I'm not as passionate about economics and finance. I am interested in biotech though, so I might consider pursuing a minor in economics, but for now, I'm definitely leaning more towards the life sciences and public health policy.
Very cool. Is there a specific instance when you look back at high school that you think this instance or this specific activity or extracurricular that you did that you think transformed you the most?
Yeah, I don't think there was any one particular extracurricular that transformed me. I think it was a combination of it all. But I think if I were to choose one, it would definitely be the research that I did because it taught me a lot about, you know, doing stuff on your own without a clear format. Because a lot of times in research, you're given a very vague question, you don't really know what you're going for, but I think that trial and error is something that really taught me what research is really like. Like it's not there's never it's rare that you have a scientific method like you have or not a scientific method. It's rare that you have a formulated plan of what to do. It's very much like a flow chart and you don't know where the flow chart is going to go. So I think that was definitely a turning point for me.
Yes, research teaches you so much about, how the actual world works too. That is awesome. Next, I want to do a pivot into some awards that you've won. So I know you're a 2025 Koch Scholar. Congratulations. And you've also been a two-time honorable mention of the NC Wit Awards. So for our viewers, NC Wit stands for the National Center for Women and Information Technology. So First of all, Vaishnavi, congrats for winning all of these incredible honors. Could you walk us through the experience of receiving these honors as well as why you think you won each of these? So I know these are two like big things that a lot of high schoolers know about, so we would love to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. With NC Wit, it's an award for computing specifically for women and genderqueer people. And I think that I won that award because a lot of the research that I did was computational. So it definitely went hand in hand. And I was able to connect that research with what I want to with the impact that I want to make on the world around me. For Koch scholars, it's mainly like a service award, and it kind of examines like the impact that you've made on your community. And so I think I got that because of my work in public policy and public health policy and the platforms that I've made to make a difference in public health in my community. So I think that's why I might have won the 2025 Koch scholarship. It's definitely a huge honor, and it really opened up the grounds to meeting lots of incredible people who are doing so much incredible things in so many different fields. So, yeah.
Yes, that is amazing. With such a busy life in high school, how did you end up balancing your time between school, your extracurriculars, all of this research that you've been doing, and then your personal friends and family time?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely prioritize family over like anything else. So I tend to try not to let academics and stuff take over my life because that it becomes really easy for that to happen. So over the weekends and stuff, I try to take a break from everything and just kind of relax because I think relaxing does a lot to recharge your brain, recharge your attentions. I think to answer your question, I spend a lot of weekends just relaxing.
You prefer working on the weekdays and then relaxing on the weekends because that's like a break. Is that something that you've done a lot?
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot because I feel like I I will burn out if I work nonstop. And I think a lot like that goes for every human being. Like no human is wired to function 24 by 7. Like that's just insane. So, yeah.
I've been trying to do this as well, where on school days you stop working after dinner or after like a certain time, like 8 p.m. or something, so you have time for yourself and then your family. So, especially doing that on the weekends, like 2 full days, that is amazing. I just love the stage that you are at right now. So, you recently graduated high school, you're about to head into college. So, now that you've lived through it all, is there an opportunity that you leveraged during high school that you think helped got you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think it's just about taking advantage of all the opportunities around you and realizing that the opportunities aren't going to come knocking on your door. You have to find the opportunities yourself and actively seek them out. So that's kind of what I did during high school in terms of finding opportunities and taking advantage of whatever resources I did have.
You said you did some stuff with computer science as well and the computational sciences. So, even with obviously all the progress that we've made in society, the gender gap in STEM still remains. And so, for me, I've done a lot of CS classes and CS clubs. So, honestly, whether you're in a CS class, CS club, or CS company, if you're doing CS research, is the number of girls compared to the number of the guys in the room, have you found that to be very few? For a lot of girls, it can be hard to stay confident, being outnumbered. So, if you found that happening, are there any strategies that you've developed while being outnumbered in these STEM rooms to be able to stand up for yourself and then have your opinions be heard?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in my AP computer science class, I was definitely in the minority, but I think what comes with being in the minority is that you end up forming a really strong, tight knit group of friends with the girls in your class who are also outnumbered. And I think it's also interesting how, in general, girls are discouraged to go into computer science. I think their natural tendency is to go into the life sciences and biology. And I think that's interesting because it's been a trend that's happened for so long, right? And I think it's also perpetuated by the fact that we were forced to create girls in computer science clubs, which I think are important, but at the same time it tends to emphasize that gap between girls and guys in computer science. So I think it's just important to normalize giving everybody a computer science curriculum, and then people can figure out whether or not they like it. But I think it's the first step is to give everyone that computer science curriculum, because I think at first the girls just don't go into computer science because they just like view that as something that they're just not interested in, even though they never tried it. In terms of not being discouraged, it's just realizing that, if you're interested in it, just go for it. Yeah, who cares if you're outnumbered, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You're just gonna prove them wrong and show that you have the same skill set as everyone else, and just show them with your work and your work ethic and your passion.
Yes, I love that. So, actually dipping your feet into the computer science field and like knowing about the computer science classes, I think that's really important because a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
girls don't even end up realizing what the field is because they don't take any classes on it, they don't join any clubs on it. And so, that's really, really important. Did you say you did AP Computer Science Principles or A?
I did APCSA.
Ah, very cool. For somebody navigating high school, maybe they're just starting in their freshman year, sophomore year, you pick what would be the biggest piece of advice that you give somebody. It could be about courses, clubs, initiatives, friends, just anything at all.
Yeah, I think it's just realizing that high school is ultimately a time to find yourself and find what you're interested in, and it's about not forcing yourself to go into one field early on just because you think it might be the field for you. So I think, for instance, for me, freshman year, I explored a lot of different things, and I think that's really important. Exploration, explore everything, make good friends, good bonds, because at the end of the day, even if you go to college far away, you're going to be coming back to your hometown, and you want to have a nice group of friends in your hometown when you come back. So, yeah.
Definitely. And so this has been a topic that ends up coming in almost all of our episodes in our podcast. Making friends with the right people is really important. You are the product of the five people that you hang most around. When you're friends with somebody, not even friends, just like who you're talking to, who you're hanging out with, the media that you're consuming, even it could be online, like the YouTubers you watch. What would you say in terms of who you let come into your energy bubble and who you listen to, who you talk with? Are there any
Yeah.
tips you'd give for that?
Yeah, I really like the phrase you used, energy bubble. I think that's really cool. Um, I think you want to hang out with people who are better than you, both in terms of their morals, their emotions, and also their passion, their determination. Because if you hang out with people who are better than you will always be motivated to be better yourself. So I think that's my number one thought on that.
I love that. Can you share a time with us now when you actually faced a significant obstacle in your journey and how you overcame it?
Yeah, for sure. For me, my number one obstacle was definitely finding research opportunities. And it took so long for me until I got a research opportunity. And even if after I got that research opportunity, it took so long for me to get used to the research environment and get used to the fact that I'm going to be conducting research projects on my own and I have to figure out how to solve these things on my own. So I think that was my number one challenge, especially because although I did have a bit of a computer science background, it's not the same as doing computer science research. So, because there's often you're doing things that have no known solutions, right? So you need to find those solutions yourself. So I think that was definitely an obstacle for me. But I think overcoming it just requires you to keep going, don't get dejected, and yeah, just persistence. Like, for instance, for one of my research projects, I couldn't find a solution, and I've been like banging my head for a whole week. And then at literally 4 a.m., I got up and it just came to me. So I don't know, it's just like being consistent, being persistent, and it'll come to you.
I think, especially when you're experiencing something new, and like you said, you did research for the first time, it's so important to be able to realize, like, hey, this is your first time doing it, so you can learn and then you can gain little skills and tips from other people. For my next question, I want to do a hard pivot, okay? Everyone has these big dreams. Everyone wants to do all these cool things, but resisting the temptation to spend away full blocks of time on our phones is a struggle for many. So, what are some tips you would give to your younger self for prioritizing getting work done?
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone is guilty of spending a little bit too much time on our screens, but I'm fortunate in that I didn't really get social media or anything until like junior year, so I was away from all of that. But then definitely I think my advice would be to not not use social media, but try to stay away from it as much as you can, because I think it becomes really easy to get sucked into those rabbit holes of things that don't really matter. And, you might have a good laugh, but at the end of the day, it's just going to leave you feeling dejected. It's going to leave you feeling like you've accomplished nothing. And it's just horrible in so many different ways. So I think the main thing is to try not to be on your screens. And I know that's so easy to say and hard to do, but I think one thing that helps is creating to-do lists, like I said before, because it forces you to take actionable steps, and those steps don't involve looking at your phone.
Yes, I am a huge fan of to-do lists. Definitely agree with you there. I think that short-term gratification when you're on social media or you're watching something funny versus the long-term vision and the goal that you want to achieve in the next year or the next 5 years, that's really important to differentiate. So definitely to-do lists help you do that, because it's like whenever you're creating your to-do list, you're going to create it based off, your goals, right? It's going to be based off what you want to do. I love that you said actionable steps. Those moments in the day when you're bored and then you have that moment of decision where you could go on social media or you could do your to-do list. I've actually started doing this recently, where before I would just write like what I need to do. If I need to do like calc work, I would just be like calc. But now I've started writing actionable steps, like what exactly I need to do for calc. If it's like this unit and then that unit, I will write that down specifically. So then that's so much easier to be like, okay, I need to do this. Let's get started on this. So those actionable steps help a lot. For my last question of the podcast, if you could have a girl to girl, heart to heart conversation with an aspiring girl in the STEM as well as the business fields, what real, unfiltered advice would you give her?
Okay, I'd say just be unapologetically yourself, and don't try to change your interests. Don't try to change who you are for societal expectations, because while it's easier to conform, I think it's so much more fulfilling to follow your dreams. And I think that's so much easier said than done again. But just force yourself to not conform to the expectations of others, and just do what makes you happy. And if you do what makes you happy, you will find success in that sometime or another.
Be unapologetically you. That's awesome. I really like how you phrase that. It's definitely easier to conform, but so much more fulfilling when you listen to yourself and your actual true dreams. And then when you chase what you want, not caring about what other people think, that's a really big point. Are there any certain tips or strategies you found that help you, especially when you're like doing something and then you think, oh, what if they think of me this way or she thinks of me that way? Are there any tips or things that you tell yourself in order to really just be unapologetically you?
Yeah, I think it's easy to naturally, follow your instinct of thinking about what other people are thinking about you, but it's just important to cancel those voices, like just literally cancel them out, and focus on what you're doing and do it the best you can.
I love that. A huge thank you to you, Vaishnavi, for being so open and authentic with us today, listening to your stories about your research and all the different things you've done were absolutely inspiring, and your tips, your unfiltered advice were so motivational. So thank you so much for being here. It was such a privilege to have you on Computer Science. To all our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with your friends, and leave us a review. It helps us connect more ambitious girls to amazing STEM role models. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars and chasing those dreams. See you soon on Computer Science.